So before I get into this, I just want to mention that I'm not going to be spoiling in this first section this season of You, so no worries there. Also, I'm not going to be spoiling the previous seasons of You, so this first section is going to be spoiler-free. Later on, I'm going to talk about the season more in detail, and what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, and I'm going to put a spoiler warning to that section specifically. I'm going to say this about the previous seasons. I love the first season. The second season is okay. The third season was a dud, in my opinion. And I gotta say, going into this fourth season, I was pretty iffy. I was pretty sure that I was not gonna enjoy it. And just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. Because this fourth season just might be my second favorite so far. I know that we're only 5 episodes in. Anything could happen in those later 5 episodes to change my opinion of that. But so far, I am in. I couldn't stop watching this show last night. I started I'm gonna watch 1 episode. And the hook of this season was so strong that I just couldn't put it down. I kept watching. Like, I watched all of the 5 episodes, and I actually didn't know that this season was split into 2 parts. So when episode 5 rolled around and it ended, I was very sad. I wanted to go on. It was like 2 a.m. when I finished like the final episode of the first half, the 5th episode. And when the next up marker didn't come down, I got worried. I was like, no, it can't end here. I need more. So, needless to say, I liked it. I think it's pretty obvious. This is a very different season from the previous ones. There's the same things, like it's a bit of a social commentary. It's about rich people, and the protagonist is a fish out of water, and that's definitely the same. It's very season 1, season 2, at least. Maybe not 3. I don't remember all that much about that season, to be honest. But it does reflect the first 2 seasons, at least, of the show, where our protagonist doesn't really know what he's doing in the circumstances that he is in. He's not around people that are like him, for better or worse, let's say. I think the performances are really good. I think Ben Padgley is still great. I don't know how to pronounce that name. I'm very sorry. The person who portrays Lady Phoebe in this season is very good. And yeah, it's all been great, and it's really funny. There are some plot contrivances, but I think this is also a show that you kind of have to turn your brain off to kind of get. It's not supposed to be like fully plot hole free. It's not one of those shows. If you know what you're going into and you want to just enjoy the show, you definitely will enjoy the show. If you accept it at its own terms, it is a riot. I freaking love this season. Okay. With that said, I'm gonna get into the spoilers because I want to talk about this show. Okay, so the brilliant thing that this season specifically does is, number 1, it's built around a whodunit structure. And there's a lot of meta commentary about Joe not liking whodunits. I think he calls them the lowest form of literature or something like that. I really like whodunits. I gotta admit also that I haven't read all that many of them. I know the classics, but apart from that, I don't really read a lot of those. But, in the time of Rian Johnson making The Glass Onion and Knives Out, I have really fell in love with this genre again. So you doing a meta commentary about rich people and, how they are so privileged in the context of a whodunit, I was in. I was just in, this is Knives Out again. I don't mind at all. And, Knives Out is a great film. I love that film. But it's also just a film. It's, you meet the characters, the things happen, and you're done with it. So it's very interesting to see a full season of television that you actually get to meet these people and hang out with them before the S hits the F, let's say. I gotta say, the first episode, though, I was a bit worried because they were introducing so many characters. I was like, what is going on? Why do you want me to know all of these characters? And at that point, I didn't realize that they were building a whodunit. So I was kind of wondering, like, there's no way all of these people are supposed to be important for the plots. And I now realize that they were just building a cast for a whodunit. So there's always the question of who actually did it. So I gotta say, I liked it. It's also a very interesting concept that Joe is texting with the killer. And furthermore, I would like to mention how big of a difference it is that Joe isn't the killer this season. And I know that's a plot line that has been in most of the seasons. You know, Joe doesn't want to kill. He just kind of stumbles onto these situations where he has to. He's kind of like Dexter in that sense. But it is very interesting. Like, I'm getting very Dexter season 1 vibes from these two killers kind of communicating with each other and kind of testing their limits and, you know, all that stuff. A lot of this season relies on coincidence, but as I've mentioned in the spoiler-free review, I don't really hold the show accountable for that. I think it's just do whatever you have to do to make the plot fun and make the story fun. It is very fun. I'll give it that. Like, I've been hooked for this show for the 5 episodes that were released. A lot of the characters that have been introduced during this season are very interesting. Like, this is a digital trends. You got Nadia, very interesting character. Kate, very interesting character. I'm not a big fan of the performance, I'll be honest. I guess it's just not my thing. I didn't get it. Like, she kind of transforms from this unlikable person to a very likable person. I didn't completely snap with that transition, but maybe it'll happen in the later episodes. Lady Phoebe, as I mentioned, like, perfect casting for this character. Like, you immediately feel like this is a person you just can't get mad at. And I'm very interested to see how they flip that in the later episodes, if they flip that. Rhys Montreux is very interesting also. You have this like one guy who kind of feels similar to Joe in some weird sense, and it is later revealed that they are very similar in a sense. Adam is a very interesting character also, you know, this kind of guy that he kind of just gets his money from his dad so he can invest it in whatever he wants. So, you know, a lot of this season relies on the viewer kind of seeing these people from the point of view of Joe, and, you know, most of the commentary in the show comes from how Joe feels about the events in it and the characters in it. I'll say, like, okay, so super spoilers, final episode spoilers here, 5th episode, I mean. I found it like, you know, there's only a few places where a whodunit can go. You almost always have to have the killer be the most interesting person in the cast. He has to be the one that reflects the protagonist in some way. So, you know, the killer being Rhys, pretty obvious, not gonna lie. I did like the zigs and zags, maybe like trying to pin it on Kate. That was interesting. I never got the sensation that she was gonna be the killer though. But I'm expecting that they're gonna flip that somehow in the second half of the season also. Like, there's gonna be 2 killers. It could be Nadia. I'm gonna throw that out there. But that could also be very obvious. So, I don't know. It's a damn if you do, damn if you don't situation where if it's not Rhys, let's say it would have been like Simon or something like that. That wouldn't be very satisfying. It would be just like, yeah, okay, that guy. The art guy, okay, cool. Whereas in the killer being Rhys has so much more depth. So yeah, it kind of makes sense. Okay, I think I've rambled enough. This is terrible probably. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you in a month when the season wraps up. Okay, thank you for watching. Tell me in the comments what you thought about this season. Bye-bye.